All right, I meant to get this earlier in the week, didn't have time, but it is very interesting. Over the weekend, Donald Trump spoke to a sycophant crowd in Fort Myers, Florida. This was the Lee County Republican Party event, and it was completely bonkers. Now, maybe the one moment where we questioned whether the crowd was as sycophantic as we believed them to be was when Trump insulted, I guess we would say, or went after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. There was muted applause at this moment, but Trump pulling out the standard grievances about DeSantis during this event. And again, it's a Florida Republican crowd, friendlier to DeSantis, and there was only a smattering of applause.
I got 1.2 million more votes than your successful governor's campaign. You know that. We got 1.2 million. Sir, I'd love to have your support, sir. I'd love to have your support. I'm down at about 3. I'd love to have your support.
Sir?
Right, let's think about it. And it was like a rocket ship after I gave it. Otherwise, right now, you'd have a lawyer someplace looking for business. If that.
There you go. Now, of course, it's not really the truth, as you might suspect. We've looked at the polling track record for DeSantis's election. And in fact, it was months after Trump's endorsement that DeSantis started gaining in the polls. So it wasn't exactly the explosive rocket ship that Trump wants you to believe it to be. Extraordinarily disturbingly, Donald Trump said that he would appoint, if he became president and had the opportunity, he would appoint more Supreme Court justices like Clarence Thomas. He says Clarence Thomas is under siege for no good reason. Of course, it's very scary to think that you look at the Supreme Court and you say, oh, we need more people like Clarence Thomas.
Thank you. I will appoint rock-solid constitutional conservative judges in the mold of Justice Antonin Scalia and the great Justice Clarence Thomas, who is under siege right now.
Right.
He's under siege right now for doing nothing. They're going after him right now.
He's right about Thomas is doing nothing. He hasn't spoken on the court for how long?
Everybody else talked about appointing conservatives to court. I am the only one who actually did it. I appointed almost 300 federal judges. All told, it was pretty substantially more than that, a record, and 3 great Supreme Court justices. So that was a big thing.
That was big. So, of course, horrifying to hear as we learn that Clarence Thomas is likely the most corrupt and unethical Supreme Court justice in 100 years, that Trump says we need more people like Clarence Thomas. And this is, of course, the weaponized contrarianism for the sake of contrarianism that has become a hallmark of the modern MAGA movement. Donald Trump also doing this routine where he says he will try to get DAs and attorneys general fired based on essentially their political orientation.
To stop the local Marxist prosecutors who release rapists and murderers while persecuting conservatives, on day 1 of my new administration, I will direct the DOJ to investigate every radical DA and attorney general in America for their
radical according to whom?
Illegal, racist, in reverse enforcement of the law.
A genuinely deranged and dangerous idea. And understand that Trump wants, if Trump had his way, he would get rid of any federal government employee that simply didn't vote for him, even if they are non-political. This is one of Trump's big crusades. He wants to be able to fire everyone and replace them with loyalists, even in bureaucratic positions where politics really shouldn't make a difference. And he wants to do the same thing with DAs and attorneys general. Not going to happen, by the way, just completely absurd, but it's not going to happen. Trump also going after his own former attorney general, William Barr, criticizing him.
And if Bill Barr had any courage, instead of worrying about being impeached by the Democrats, these people would have all been taken care of, but we have to do it a different way. If he had courage, we need people with courage. He had no courage. He didn't want to be impeached. Sir, I don't want to be impeached. I said, what's wrong with being impeached? I got impeached twice and my numbers went up. He wasn't a brave person. He wasn't a brave person. Now he sits back and pontificates and says, oh, Trump this and Trump that. The man didn't have courage. He didn't have courage to go out and do what you had to do with respect to the election.
Yeah. And of course, who hired him? It was Trump. Trump ran on, I will hire the best people. And he ended up hiring some of the worst people, even by his own admission. Trump's delusions of grandeur certainly didn't slow down at all, claiming that when he won in 2016, not only did he save the country, he says he also saved the Republican Party.
To put it simply, on Election Day 2016, we didn't just save America, we saved the Republican Party. We did.
Hard to believe, really, given the shambles that the Republican Party finds itself in today. Trump continuing the delusions by saying he's probably the most honest person who has ever been president. Even more honest than Honest Abe.
There's no crime. I got indicted for no crime. They're all saying, even the Democrats, well, we don't see this as a crime. There is no crime. You know, a friend of mine said, you're probably the most honest person to ever be president.
And then capping off a completely insane evening, Donald Trump then stopping at a pizza place and taking a bite out of a slice and asking whether anyone wants the slice that Trump took a bite out of. And of course, they cheer. It is indeed a cult, many of them wanting a slice that Donald Trump took a bite out of. So this is going to be the next year. I hate to inform people that this is what American politics will be like. Meanwhile, hopefully, President Joe Biden will keep accomplishing things. And I think for that, we should really encourage that. Donald Trump speaking this afternoon in New Hampshire at what I'm certain will be a very unhinged campaign event. We will cover it live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. But do not be confused. This is indeed a cult. I love my car, which is electric. I love my bicycle. And I have to say that the perfect medium in between is my electric bike by Lectric. If you're looking to spend about $800 or so on an e-bike, Lectric is where you want to go. I've tried e-bikes that cost $7,000, and Lectric delivers the same performance and specs, but at a much more reasonable price point. I take my Lectric e-bike everywhere these days. I've almost completely ditched my regular bike for now. E-bikes are, of course, better for the environment than taking a car. The e-bike gives you more flexibility and range than a regular bicycle. You can go further, you can see more. My e-bike is just my favorite form of cardio at this point. It comes fully assembled to your door. It includes a bright LCD display, 7-speed gearing, 5 levels of pedal assist, and a powerful battery that's removable so you can bring it indoors for charging. It's also fully foldable, so I can put it in the back of my car, and they have financing for as little as $73 a month. Go to lectricebikes.com to learn more. Explore all of the incredible e-bike models they offer. The link is down below.